Euro 2024 is happening very soon in Germany, so I thought it was a good idea to give you my final predictions for this tournament. I'm going to be going through each group and predicting which team is going to finish first, second, third, and fourth. And then in the next video, I'm going to predict the knockout stages and finally decide which team will win Euro 2024. Now, I have already made a video predicting this tournament, but a lot has changed since then. Poland, Ukraine, and Georgia have now qualified through the playoffs, and a lot of my opinions have changed. So I decided to make this video, giving you my final predictions for Euro 2024. And with that being said, let's get started with the first group, Group A. Group A features Germany, Switzerland, Hungary, and Scotland. I'm going to start off by looking at the host team, Germany. This is a team that I really don't know what to expect from. They were atrocious in 2023, losing several games that they really shouldn't have. But those were just friendlies, and they've really pulled it back with wins over the Netherlands and France in the most recent international break. They did look like a strong team in those two games, and if they can continue that form into the Euros, then they do have a chance of going far. And let's not forget that they have a very strong squad. They've got players like Kimmich, Musiala, Rudiger, Wirtz, two great options in goal with Ter Stegen and Neuer, and many other top players that I haven't mentioned. The Germans clearly have better players than every other team in this group. It's definitely still possible that Germany have a complete disaster, but those last two results against France and the Netherlands were very positive signs. And because they're on home soil and they have a really good squad of players, I expect Germany to top this group. But the other three positions are very difficult to predict. Scotland, Hungary, and Switzerland are all competing for second place. The Hungarian team definitely have the potential to finish in the top two. In Euro 2020, they were drawn in the group of death, but they drew with both France and Germany. So with a far easier group and an even stronger team now, I think Hungary really do have a chance. Don't forget that they also did well in the 2022 Nations League, beating England 4-0. They also topped their qualifying group without losing a single match. And while it was a fairly easy group with Serbia being the only strong opponent, you do still have to give them credit for that. And they beat Serbia twice as well. They just dropped unnecessary points against Montenegro, Lithuania, and Bulgaria. They also have some really decent players like Szoboszlai, Gulasi, and Willi Orban. I could see Hungary being the dark horse of this tournament, and I think they will advance into the knockout stages. But which team will get the chance to join them by finishing in third place? Switzerland have got lots of experience at major tournaments. They knocked out France in the last Euros and reached the last 16 of the last World Cup. They've done better at recent tournaments than every other team in this group. However, for Switzerland, there have been some worrying signs in qualifying. Ever since the World Cup, they've struggled to win games, and they finished below Romania in their qualifying group. And worryingly for them, Scotland actually did well in qualifying, finishing second ahead of Norway and Georgia. They've now qualified for the last two Euro tournaments, and this Scotland team is the best team they've had in a long time. With that being said, their squad is weak compared to the other teams in this group, and I think they will finish fourth. Switzerland have a better squad and a good record at major tournaments, so despite their poor form, I think they will finish above Scotland. So my final table for Group A looks like this: Germany first, Hungary second, Switzerland third, and Scotland fourth. This group was extremely hard to predict, and even now while I'm recording this, I'm still reconsidering this order. Hungary, Switzerland, and Scotland could finish in any order, and I'm not entirely sure. But these are my final predictions for Group A. And now it's time to move on to Group B. It features Spain, Croatia, Italy, and Albania. I know most people are going to be predicting that Albania finished last in this group, and while they do have some good players and they did very well in qualifying, I'm going to have to say that they finished fourth place. It's a real shame because I think that in any other group they would have had a chance of progressing to the knockouts. But Spain, Italy, and Croatia are three very tough opponents. So while Albania are definitely capable of causing an upset, I do still expect them to finish fourth place. Now let's move on to Spain. Spain have got a good and balanced squad. They've got lots of top experienced players like Rodri, but they've also got plenty of young players like Pedri and Yamal. Morata has also picked up some form this season, and overall Spain have not been doing badly since the World Cup. They topped their qualifying group and they've been playing some good football. At the last Euros, they reached the semi-finals and only lost out to the winners Italy on penalties. I wouldn't be surprised if they do a similar sort of thing this year. I think the Spain team is in a far better shape than the Italian team and the Croatian team, and for that reason, I think they are going to top this group. But deciding which team takes that second place spot is a little bit more difficult. Italy, of course, won the tournament in 2021, but since then they haven't really looked like the same team. Mancini has now left to go manage Saudi Arabia, so Luciano Spalletti, last year's Scudetto winner with with Napoli, is now their manager. It's going to be very interesting to see how well his team performs. I think his squad is a lot weaker than the one Mancini had 3 years ago though. They definitely still have a strong midfield with players like Barella and Jorginho, and they also have 2 good goalkeeping options with Donnarumma and Vicaria. In the attack and defence though, I think they have considerably weakened. Players like Immobile, Insigne, Chiellini and Bonucci are all on the way out, and these newer Italian players are definitely going to need to step up. I am worried that they don't really have the quality that it takes to go far in a major tournament. And in qualifying, Italy didn't really look great. They only qualified for the tournament through goal difference. Of course, you never really know with Italy. They won in 2021 when they weren't really expected to, and a similar thing could happen again here. I don't expect them to reach the final or the semi-final, but it's still definitely a possibility. Even though their squad has changed a lot since the last Euros, I do still think it's slightly better than Croatia's. But that does not mean they're going to finish above them. Croatia are a team that have done very well in recent major tournaments. They were in the top 3 of both of the last World Cups, and that is a very impressive achievement. However, a lot of people think that their team is past its best, with players like Modric and Perisic not getting as many minutes at their clubs as they used to. While they do still have players playing at the highest level like Kovacic and Guardiola, older players like Modric have been crucial to their success over the years, and if they're slowing down, that's not a good sign for Croatia. For me though, this Croatia team's success isn't to do with the players. It's their team spirit that allows them to pull through in big moments. Croatia always seem to be able to handle the pressure as a team, and that sort of spirit tends to have more of an impact in the knockout stages. I wouldn't be surprised if they finish 3rd in their group, but then go on to do something great in the knockouts. I think their squad is weaker than the Italian one at this point in time, so I think they will finish 3rd in this group, but you never know what can happen with Croatia. My final Group B predictions look like this: Spain 1st, Italy 2nd, Croatia 3rd, and Albania 4th. Now it's time to move on to Group C, which features England, Slovenia, Serbia, and Denmark. I'm gonna start off by saying that I fully expect England to top this group. A team with Kane, Foden, Bellingham, Rice, Palmer, Saka, and many other great players should top this group without too much trouble. I know a few people are less confident about England after the recent international friendlies against Brazil and Belgium, but we weren't playing our best team then, and I still have full confidence that England can go far in this tournament. With their form in qualifying and their amazing squads, you do have to predict England to finish above Denmark, Serbia, and Slovenia. So I think England will finish 1st in this group, but what about the other 3 teams? I would say Denmark have a slightly better squad than Serbia and Slovenia. Players like Højlund and Christensen could definitely help Denmark to go far in this tournament. And let's not forget how good they were at the last Euros. They reached the semi-finals and took England to extra time. If they can replicate that form at this tournament, then they could do really well. But their dreadful form at the World Cup was not a good sign, and they haven't looked much better since then either. In the Euro qualifiers, they had a very easy group, but they only just topped it ahead of Slovenia. So Denmark's form coming into this tournament isn't great, but they do still have the potential to do quite well. Now, Serbia are another team that did badly at the 2022 World Cup, and this is actually the first time they've ever qualified for a Euro tournament, and that's because they've never really done very well in past qualifiers. In fact, the only time when they really looked like a decent team was in those World Cup 2022 qualifiers. They finished above Portugal in that group and played some really good football. However, in the World Cup and in this year's qualifying, they haven't really looked that good. They've also had some of their big players like Milinkovic, Savic, Mitrovic and Tadic go to lower leagues. So unfortunately for Serbia, I think their team is even weaker now than it was at the World Cup, and I think they're going to struggle to reach the knockout stages. But now let's take a look at Slovenia. This is the team that I really don't know what to expect from, because I haven't really seen their team or really any of their players play. Their squad really does lack quality, with Šeško and Oblak being their only real high-level players. They did do well in qualifying, finishing level on points with Denmark, but I really don't think this team has what it takes to get out of this group. England, Denmark and Serbia just have so much more quality in their squads. And while Denmark and Serbia both aren't on the best form and could finish below them, I do still think Slovenia will finish 4th. So my final prediction for Group C is England 1st, Denmark 2nd, Serbia 3rd and Slovenia 4th. Now let's move on to Group D, which features France, Poland, Austria and the Netherlands. I'm going to start off by talking about the Dutch team. I think the Netherlands are one of the most underrated teams going into this Euro. I was very impressed by the way they played in the World Cup. They reached the quarterfinals where they were knocked out by Argentina on penalties, and I think they deserve to win that game. They also weren't too bad in qualifying, where they only lost to France and won all 6 of the other games. But the real reason why I think this Netherlands team is so underrated is because they actually have a very strong squad. They've probably got the best defence in the tournament with so many options at the back. They've got Van Dijk, De Ligt, Ake, Van de Ven, Frimpong, Dumfries, Feyenoord duo Hartland and Gertruida, Botman, who I don't think is playing at the tournament, but he still might, Knight, and many other good defensive options. They've also got good players going forwards like Gravenberch, Reinders, De Jong, Xavi Simons, Cody Gakpo, and many others. What I'm saying here is that their form and their squads are arguably just as good as teams like Spain and Portugal. I've seen a lot of predictions where people put Netherlands below Austria, and while Austria are a great team, I don't really get that. The Dutch are more likely to be challenging France for that first place spot, but challenging France is a very tough job. This French team has reached back-to-back World Cup finals, and they have an incredible squad. This team has got Mbappe, Giroud, Thuram, Griezmann, Upamecano, Saliba, Konate, Koundé, Tchouameni, Camavinga, Nkunku, Theo and Lucas Hernandez, Maignan in goal, and many other great players. What really amazes me is their squad depth. They've got 2 or 3 fantastic players in every position. France also had a great qualifying campaign where they beat Gibraltar 14-0, but it looks like everyone destroyed Gibraltar. They scored 0 goals and conceded 41. Anyway, I think France are going to top this group. Didier Deschamps has proven that he can manage his team into finals and to win trophies, and this France side is full of world-class players. I think France versus the Netherlands is going to be a lot closer than people think, but France did beat them twice in qualifying, and I think they have a better team. So that's the top 2 sorted, but which team's going to finish third? It's between Austria and Poland. The Austrians have been playing some great football recently under Ralf Rangnick. In the most recent Euro qualifiers, they finished ahead of Sweden and just 1 point behind Belgium. And in the most recent international friendlies, they beat Turkey, Slovakia and Germany very convincingly. Austria also got some great results in 2022, including a 3-0 win over Croatia and a 2-0 win over Italy. They also did very well at the last Euros, where they beat quarter-finalists Ukraine in the group stages and then took Italy all the way to extra time in the last 16. In this year's tournament, they're up against Poland, who made it all the way to the knockout stages of the last World Cup. However, Poland were very disappointing in qualifying, finishing 3rd behind Albania and the Czech Republic. They seem to have improved after sacking their manager Santos, but remember, they still only scraped past Wales to get to this tournament, and I don't think they're going to get very far. Unfortunately for Poland, I'm going to have to predict that they finish 4th and Austria finish 3rd. So my final prediction for Group D is France 1st, Netherlands 2nd, Austria 3rd, and Poland 4th. And now let's move on to Group E. The 4 teams in this group are Ukraine, Slovakia, Belgium, and Romania. Let's start off by looking at Belgium. They had an absolute disaster in the 2022 World Cup, where they went out in the group stages and played absolutely terribly. But they played a lot better in the Euro qualifiers, where they topped their group unbeaten ahead of Austria and Sweden. Belgium's squad definitely isn't at its best right now, and those poor World Cup performances are going to be at the front of everyone's minds. But I think that the gap in quality between Belgium and the other 3 teams in this group is so big that I just have to predict them to finish first. Belgium are very lucky to be in this group though, because I think they'd really struggle against another big team. They do have some top players like De Bruyne, Tielemans and Doku, but after that World Cup and looking at their squad compared to other squads, I think they would struggle. It's also been revealed that their goalie Courtois is not going to be playing at the tournament, so I'd recommend putting their sub-goalie Castells into your Euro fantasy team. I'd also recommend joining the Central Super League. The code is on the screen right now. Anyway, let's move on to Ukraine, who I think were very unlucky not to qualify for the competition automatically. They lost to Italy on goal difference in a very difficult group. They then qualified through the playoffs by beating Iceland and Bosnia and Herzegovina. I think that during those qualifiers, they actually played very well. They managed to draw with both England and Italy. And I watched the game where they drew 1-1 with England, and they were very impressive. If they can play like that at this Euro, then I think they should be fine against teams like Slovakia and Romania. So I predict Ukraine to finish 2nd in this group. But that battle for 3rd place is going to be very tough. Unlike Romania, Slovakia qualified for the last Euro, but they didn't do very well going out in the group stage. This time though, they look a lot better. They did well in qualifying, finishing only below Portugal, but I would argue Romania did even better in qualifying. They finished above Switzerland, and they really weren't expected to. To be honest, both of these teams have very weak squads compared to the rest of the tournament, so I'm just going to judge this off of their qualifying campaigns. And I think Romania did a better job. So this is going to be very close, and I'm really not sure about it, but I think Romania will just edge this one by winning that game against Slovakia. I think that one game will decide which team finishes 3rd in this group. So my final predictions for Group E are Belgium 1st, Ukraine 2nd, Romania 3rd, and Slovakia 4th. And now let's move on to the final group, Group F. It features Portugal, Georgia, Turkey and Czechia. First, let's look at Portugal, who won the tournament 8 years ago and are among the favourites to win it again this year. And there's a good reason for that. Portugal were the only team to win every single game in qualifying. They also have a very strong squad with lots of great players. This is definitely the best Portugal team we've seen in a long time, and I expect them to top this group. Their form and their squad are both among the best in the tournament. But which of the other teams will join them in the knockouts? Euros. I think the most likely team to finish second is Turkey. Back in 2021, Turkey were branded as the Euro dark horses, but they really disappointed, finishing 4th in their group behind Italy, Wales and Switzerland. This year though, they look a lot better. They were very good in qualifying, finishing above Croatia, and they've got some really good players like Şanlıurfa and Sayoncu. If Turkey play like they did in those qualifiers at this Euro, then I think they definitely can make it to the knockout stages. And I'm going to predict that they finish second in this group. Now let's move on to Georgia. It's their first ever Euro, and I do expect them to put up a good fight, but I don't think they'll be able to compete with Czechia, Turkey or Portugal. It would be nice to see them cause an upset though. The last team in this group is Czechia, and I think they'll finish third. They did very well at the Euros in 2021, reaching the quarterfinals and knocking out the Netherlands in the last 16. Patrick Schick scored 6 goals at that tournament, and a lot of the key players that were playing in that Czechia team are still playing at the highest level now. Czechia are a solid team, and I think they can challenge for that second place spot. However, I think Turkey did do slightly better in qualifying, and I do expect them to finish second and Czechia to finish. And I do predict them to finish second and Czechia to finish third. So my final predictions for Group F are Portugal first, Turkey second, Czechia third, and Georgia fourth. And that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. This video took me a while to make, and the reason for that is because I had the entire video, knockout stages and group stages, already prepared, but then I deleted the video while trying to export it. I've had to remake the entire thing, so I've just done the group stages for now so that it took a little bit less time. But my knockout stage predictions will be out soon. Anyway, thank you for watching. Feel free to click the videos on screen right now if you want to watch more, and I will see you later. Oh, and remember to join my Euro Fantasy League. Just Google UEFA Euro Fantasy and then make your team and join my league. The code is on screen right now. Why are you still here? Click the videos on screen now. Do it.